Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. The new Matrix movie, Matrix Resurrections, is now out in theaters and on HBO Max. I saw the movie, and this is my spoiler-free review of Matrix Resurrections. Before I share my thoughts on what I thought about this movie, let me know down in the comments if you have seen it. What did you think of Matrix Resurrections? If you haven't, how interested are you in seeing it, and what's your excitement level for the movie? I'd love to know your thoughts. With that said, I'm going to get started talking about the movie, and I have to say, this is a really mixed bag for me. There's a lot of things about this movie that I think worked really well, and there's a lot of things about this movie that I don't think worked at all. So this is a really hard one to kind of review and talk about, but I'm going to do my best. As far as the positives go, one of the best things about this movie is the technical stuff. I think from a technical standpoint, there's a lot of great things in this movie. The cinematography and visual look of everything is great, and I love the color palette. There's a lot of beautiful shots, and especially in the action sequences, even though I don't love the action, it looks visually really great, and it's just beautiful to look at. Like I said, the color palette is great, and the way the movie looks, it's really cool. It is kind of different from the original Matrix trilogy. That didn't bug me too much. I know some people have issues with that, but to me, I like the new look with what they did with this movie, and especially the color palette. It just looks beautiful. I think the movie also has great sound effects, like the gunshots and the action sequences. All the sound effects just sound great, and I think they're top notch. They really work well, and just the sound design of the movie is also really good. I think the movie also has a great score and just great choice of music in general, and it works really, really well. And the thrilling sequences, especially in the third act, the music I think was really good. As far as the cast goes, I think that this movie has a pretty good cast, but I'm not a big fan of the characters that they chose to play and the casting for those characters. For example, you have Jonathan Groff in the movie who's playing a character, and I don't think that was the right choice for them to do. I feel like they should have just made him a completely new character. If you've seen the movie, you probably know what I mean. I don't think he was the right choice to play that character, and I wish they just brought back the old actor that played him. I don't want to spoil anything, so I don't want to go too much in detail, but I feel like he should have played a completely different character instead of the one that they chose for him to play. Neil Patrick Harris is in the movie, and I have really mixed feelings on him. Like, the character that he's playing, he's very weird. I just don't know how to categorize him. I don't think he's a good character necessarily. I don't think he's bad either. I think his performance is pretty good, but the writing for him and just the way he plays a part in the movie, I just don't think really worked. Morpheus is also in the movie. He's played by a different actor though. Now, part of me wishes Lawrence Fishburne came back, but I think Yahya Abdul-Mateen II did a pretty good job of playing the character. He wasn't great. He's not nearly as good as Lawrence Fishburne was, but I don't think, when I was watching the movie and when his character popped up, I was never thinking, I wish Lawrence Fishburne was here. It never distracted me. It always worked pretty well for me, and I didn't really have any big problems with a different actor playing Morpheus, and it never distracted me from the movie. So I don't have any issues with him. I think he did a pretty solid job of following up with Lawrence Fishburne, but part of me does wish that Lawrence Fishburne came back because he was the original actor that played the character in the first 3 movies. Priyanka Chopra has a small role in the movie, and I think she's pretty good. She's not in too much of the movie, but when she's in it, she does a pretty good job. Jessica Henwick is in the movie as a new character called Bugs, and when she's in it, I think she's great. Now, a lot of people are saying she's the standout of the movie. Personally, I wouldn't say so. I think she's good. I think she does a pretty good job playing the character, and she has a pretty important role in the movie, but I don't think she's like the main standout of the entire film, although I did really, really enjoy her character. But obviously, we have to talk about Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss. And personally, I think Carrie-Anne Moss was really underutilized. I think she should have been in more of the film than she actually was. She ended up being in pretty much half of the film, and the other half she didn't have that big of a role in. So I wish she was in more of the movie. I think that would have made the movie a little bit better. But Keanu Reeves is really good. He's obviously our main lead here, and throughout the entire movie, he gives a really good performance, and he's also really fun to watch in general. And I just really enjoyed what they did with his character, and I think it's a pretty good continuation off of the original trilogy. Now, the movie story is mainly focused on Neo and Trinity's relationship, and I think it works pretty well. I think their relationship is great, so whenever both of them are on screen, I think the movie works great. And as a whole, it just worked pretty well for me, and especially as you go into the third act. The third act of this movie is fantastic because that's when Neo and Trinity actually have a lot of stuff to do together. And when you get into the third act, I think the movie is actually great. Now, although I enjoyed all those things about this movie, I think it has a ton of problems. Like I said, I do think some of the casting is a bit off. But oh my god, there's a lot of other issues with this movie as well. This movie is really, really meta, especially in the first half. It's like almost at one point, it's like you're breaking the fourth wall, and it's really annoying for me. I wish they didn't do that. I wish they were more serious with what they were going for. And because of the way they did things, it was kind of annoying. Now, part of it did work for me, and there's this other half that really annoyed me. And I think for most people, they landed in the annoying range because a lot of people did not like how meta this movie was. To me, it was a mixed bag, but part of me does wish that it was just regular instead of being so meta. The movie also doesn't have as great action as the first three movies do. I'm not a big fan of the Matrix sequels, but they also do have good action. But this movie, I don't think nearly has as good action as the first three movies did. So part of me wishes like they had more of a unique style, because in this movie, there's some good action in there, but it's not unique. It's not different. It's mostly stuff that we've seen before in other films. So personally, I wasn't a huge fan of the action. But like I said, as you go into the third act is very thrilling. I did really enjoy the third act. But the rest of the action in the movie is very like mediocre. I'm not a big fan of it. I also think the second act, the middle of the film, has a lot of problems. The first act of the movie, although it's like really meta, it still kind of has an interesting like vibe to it, because you're coming off of the original trilogy and you're looking at the first act where it just seems different and you're trying to figure out what's happening with Neo, and because of that, it's kind of interesting to watch. But as you go into the second act, the movie just kind of slows down and it doesn't really have as much intrigue and doesn't really have any good action either. So I just found the middle section of this movie to be quite boring and just not that great. I do wish the middle of the film had at least a little more intrigue or better action to keep me invested, because in the middle of the movie, I was just nodding off a lot of the time. So yeah, I did enjoy the first act a little bit, even though it's really meta. I did enjoy the intrigue, and as you go into the third act, like I said, there's some great action, and Trinity and Neo, that's when they get together, and there's a lot of great stuff there. I love that, but the middle of the movie is really slow, and it just didn't work for me. So as a whole, I thought Matrix Resurrections was okay. It wasn't great, it wasn't good either, it wasn't bad either, though. It was like in the middle. It was an okay movie. I enjoyed most of it, and there's a lot of issues I have as well. But if I had to give it like a positive or negative review, I'd probably be slightly leaning positive, just because there's stuff that I enjoy as well. I don't think it's a bad movie. I just think it's very like middle of the road. As far as my score goes, I'm gonna give Matrix Resurrections a B-. On an entertainment scale, it's a 6.5 out of 10. I enjoyed the movie, I had a fun enough time with it. I do wish the middle was better though, and I do think like they shouldn't have gone as meta as they did. But as a whole, I did enjoy the film enough to give it a positive review. So that's my thoughts on Matrix Resurrections. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, guys. Let me know down in the comments, what did you think of Matrix Resurrections? If you enjoyed my review, be sure to leave a like. It really helps me out. And subscribe to my channel for more content. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.